Just don't have the threesome, please. A bunch of you will probably disagree with me, but this is for the one person out there who it might help. I have been married to my 38F husband, 37M, for 12 years now, and I would describe our marriage as pretty great. We love each other and have built a family and a lifestyle that we both enjoy. Our sex is still great, but as we've gotten older it has become a lot less frequent. Sometimes we'll go a month or two without have sex. Part of it is because of the kids, but it has also just become less of a priority for both of us. So after a heart-to-heart chat one night last year, we agreed to both try different things to spice things up a little bit, sexy outfits or a quick night in a hotel. I suggested maybe even trying role play, but he kinda laughed that off. For like 2 months we probably had sex every other day, and we both enjoyed it, but eventually life got in the way and we basically went back to where we were. Then one night after watching a movie with a threesome in it, he asked me if I'd ever consider one. I didn't know if he was serious, but I said maybe with the right third person. Unexpectedly he was intrigued, and I said then that it wouldn't hurt to try something once. We forgot about that conversation for a couple months, but then last month when my friend from high school was in town and we went and got a drink with her. I hadn't seen her in more than 5 years, and my husband had never met her, but we had a really good time and our kids were at my parents' place, and when she went to the bathroom my husband nudged me and said, "If you're interested, maybe we should ask her." I knew right away what he was talking about and I kind of agreed. She was someone I was comfortable with, but that wasn't a big part of either of our lives. After a slightly awkward conversation she said yes, and we agreed to meet up again the next night. We got dinner the next night, and when she came to our house it was definitely a little awkward for all of us, so I tried to take the lead. I kissed my friend and started to undress her. She went down on me and honestly it was great. Eventually I pulled down my husband's pants to get him involved and my friend laughed. I was embarrassed for him, so I told her to try him out and see that he's so much better than she would expect. In hindsight that was probably a mistake. He didn't seem to mind her taunts and he fucked her more energetically than I have ever seen. It quickly became uncomfortable for me to watch. He kept gesturing for me to come closer to him, but I was basically frozen watching the man I love having sex with someone else. I told them to keep going and that I had to get a quick sip of water. I could hear her moans echo throughout our house and it just made me feel worse. When I came back he pushed her off and came to have sex with me. I could tell in his eyes that he really wanted me, but I just wasn't feeling it at all. I tried getting into it, but after several minutes it just wasn't working and I think he was beginning to realize, so I started giving him oral, but after like 2 seconds he said he needed to come, so I pushed him onto his back on the bed so he finished all over his stomach. In total, it was like 30 or 40 minutes, but it felt to me like it was much longer. She left a bit later and we were all pleasant to each other. When my husband and I were alone he was clearly so happy, and that just crushed me more. We had a long talk and we both agreed never to do it again. I may have written it poorly, but from my perspective he hadn't done anything wrong, it's just that I was way more uncomfortable with the situation than I thought I would be. He's totally understanding of that and apologized for even brining it up in the first place. But it's not his fault, I was totally on board until I wasn't. I haven't talked to my friend much in the last month, but when I think about having sex with my husband I keep remembering the way they looked together. I'm sure I'll get over it eventually, and I'm so lucky to have a loving partner and a good live, but I'm hoping maybe someone will read about my experience and think twice about doing a similar thing. It might seem nice or harmless in your head, but you never know until it's too late. Update. My husband basically cheated on me. This is an infuriating update to my previous post. I do want to thank you all for all of the support, but unfortunately some of you may have been right about the direction of my marriage. It's been 2 months since the devastating threesome that I wrote about, and I have not been able to move past it. I still can't get those images out of my mind, and I've been mostly spending time alone other than my job and my duties as a mother. My husband and I have not been physically intimate, but he has mostly been supportive, checking on me and giving me some space. But then my whole life came crashing down last week. Or at least that's how it feels right now. I was using our iPad to make a photo slideshow of our kids' summer vacations for their grandmothers, and I mistakenly deleted a photo. When I went into the iPad's deleted photos album, much to my horror I came across about a dozen photos that my husband took of himself in the mirror, naked with everything showing. His phone must be connected to the iPad somehow. The photos were particularly shocking because in our 12 years of marriage, neither my husband nor I have ever sent an even slightly risque photo, let alone a nude one. Also, this is going to sound weird, but I think it was the first time that I've ever seen him without any pubic hair at all. When I confronted him about the photos, he immediately started crying and explained to me what he said was the full story. Here's what he said. He picked up our son and our son's best friend at the friend's house a little while ago because they were going to a baseball game together. When he was waiting for the boy to come out, his mother, who is married and we both have known for years, was gardening in the front yard and her underwear was sticking out a little bit and she noticed him looking. According to him, that's the last time he saw her in person. He then showed me their texts. We have both texted and called her several times for years. She texted him, "Thanks for picking son's name up. Sorry, next time I'll wear better pants," with a wink emoji. He then responded nothing to apologize for. I didn't mind the view. She said, "What does my name not wear G-strings," with a bunch of laughing emojis. He said, "LOL, nope." She said, "Well then feel free to stare anytime as long as you return the favor." And an hour later he responded, "Ha ha ha, I don't think that's a good idea," and that's the end of the conversation. I do realize that he doesn't seem to have done anything physical or sent any dirty photos. But sometime while I was in the house with him he was taking nude photos and, he admitted, considered sending them to her. That feels to me a whole lot like cheating. Also, I think it's pretty fucked up to talk about the underwear that your wife wears with another married woman. My husband apologized, admitted he was in the wrong and swore never to do it again. But I was so angry at him that I told him to go on a work trip and leave me and the kids alone while he thinks about it. He comes home tomorrow, and I'd love it if you all could tell me if I'm overreacting or not. Update 2. As many of you predicted, my marriage is over. I have really appreciated all of the support and advice you guys have offered after my previous posts, but this is going to be my last update from this account. Writing about this has been cathartic and has forced me to reflect more honestly about my own actions. Thank you all. My husband officially moved out a few weeks ago. Just 6 months ago I would have said that I was living a fairy tale marriage to an amazing man. Now I cry myself to sleep most nights and I spend all my time trying to make it so my kids don't suffer from our divorce. Basically, a couple days after my last post, my husband and I decided to be adults and try to reconcile our problems by being radically honest. I told him that I lost trust in him after the nudes incident. He told me that he has been unsatisfied with our sex life for almost 10 years. I showed him my Reddit posts on this account. He told me he felt like he had fallen out of love with me. I told him that made me hate him for our kids' sake. He told me he thought we should get divorced. I agreed. A couple days passed. We slept in the same bed. We hardly talked. It was awful. I stopped wearing my ring. Just thinking about it now makes me cry. We agreed one day that we were both serious about the split, so we tried counseling and it lasted a few sessions, but it seemed to just make things worse. In the matter of a month my life fell apart. He sent me a bunch of divorce paperwork and I just cried. Then one day, I stumbled upon him telling our daughter that we were getting divorced. Apparently she had asked what was happening between us, but I was so angry that he would talk to her without discussing it with me first that I freaked out. It was a messy fight, and embarrassing to look back on. I still think it was messed up for him to do that without me, but it was probably past the time for it to happen. And what was he supposed to do, lie to her? That's no better. That fight really sparked what would be the end. We were at each other's throats for a few days and then finally we got along once it was clear it was ending. We both are trying to help make this all as pain-free as possible for the kids. They deserve better. My husband, I just realized that I still think of him as that. He still technically is, but I should get more comfortable with X, got a place close by and the kids see him constantly. I don't know how long that will last. I don't really know what's next. Now's the place where you guys can stop reading. Because I might have fucked up. A couple weeks ago, I let a man 10 years younger than me that I know because he works in the same office as I do seduce me, for lack of a better term. He asked me and 2 others to drinks. They declined, but I said yes. After 1 drink his hand was on my thighs. After 3 I felt him over his pants. And afterwards we shared a kiss and I took home his jacket. I knew exactly what he was doing, but I was just so excited to be wanted again. He made me feel sexy and smart and worthwhile. The next day I brought the jacket back to him at his apartment and we had sex. He was very aggressive and it was incredible. But now I am deeply embarrassed just thinking about it. The hookup wasn't cheating. My husband and I both agreed that we could see other people while our separation is being finalized. But it still feels wrong. I would never want my kids to know about it, and I think that's a good sign that it was a mistake. Maybe someday I'll fall in love again, but first I've got to figure out who I am and what I want to be.